live. Yeah, yeah, we going live. Hey, hey, we going live. Yeah, yeah, we going live. Yeah, yeah, we going. Yeah, yeah, we going. Yeah, 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 we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
We've been doing the last couple of weeks. I think I've done it onto the real. Mixed emotions about this mental health moment. We've talked about this gentleman probably more than ever over the last few weeks, and rightfully so. But I thought it was important to address some of the things that Antonio Brown said when he appeared on I Am Athlete this past week. I feel like he is in a space of defense, like being defensive almost about his mental health, instead of being open to the possibility. It's weird because he was almost contradictory. What did you think? I felt like he was almost contradictory because in one statement he said, we play football, CTE is real. This could be, all of us all of us are experiencing CTE. That's what he said. But then you turn around and you're like, when Brandon Marshall says, you're a lot like Kanye, first thing out of your mouth is, you're trying to call me crazy. And he kept defending his, I don't know the word to even use, his lack of
skill to handle,
the ability to handle certain situations in a professional way, because that was really where Brandon was coming from, right? But I felt like he was in a space of it was defense. He got defensive, and so he turned the tides, if you will. And these people who typically say, oh, I'm good, I don't have, those are probably the people who need it the most.
Right.
So it was, to me, I think, as a wake-up call to athletes and African-American men and people in general, though, to be honest with yourself, be honest with your, with where you are. It might be scary. It might not be something you're used to. It might not be something you've ever even thought about, because those are not conversations that are happening around our dinner tables, right? So, but I really was just, I don't know, I was in my place of angst with this, because I was like, but you just said it out of your own mouth. Like when you started, you were in this, you get it, but you don't want to admit it. You get it, but you don't want to admit it. That's the way to sum this up to me.
Yeah. It was hard to watch, especially that last 30 minutes. I watched it 30 minutes and I stopped, and I came back to it a little bit later. It was very hard to watch. It got a little chaotic for me, just even in viewing it. I was like, what's happening? Like, it's, it was hard to watch. I appreciate what Brandon Marshall, his perspective. And like you said, there's one thing to say, he was kind of alluding to, this is just how I am. And just because that's how we are doesn't mean that we're right.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we're wrong either. But I saw a lack of openness to even examine your actions. And even in the analogy, Brandon said, well, I wouldn't have done that because I, was concerned about the bag. I wanted to be a Hall of Famer. I wanted to do all these things that I thought you wanted to do as well. And how he was alluding to, it's just like someone walking off a job, but you're a millionaire, AB. Like, you have money. So the things that you do, normal people can't do, because they do have a family. How many people are here working jobs they don't want to work because they got to support their family and their kids. So that whole mentality of like, somebody makes you mad, somebody gets under your skin, somebody says something to you that's not right, or that you don't agree with that makes you mad, then you just respond. And Brandon's explanation of reacting versus responding was really
That was
good. I was like,
good.
man, that's
Mhm.
good.
That's
You
good.
know, so that whole mantra of like, you just do what you do, you can do that and you can still be okay. You can still take care of yourself. But like passing that on to other people, everybody's life's not, most people's lives are not set up that way.
No.
And I was like, man, that messaging can get so distorted because it's like, well, AB did it, so I could do it. No, you can't, because you're not going to have a job tomorrow.
Or a home in 2 weeks, if you right, like,
You know, so
be real, like, be real. People live
yeah.
paycheck to paycheck.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
he's authentically himself. I give him that.
but is himself
He
well.
stands on what he feels, but I think that he just has a lack of openness to examine from all perspectives, and from like a business perspective, the NFL. And he's like, the NFL is the business. Well, you gotta treat it like a business. You gotta play the game. That's business.
And
Like,
and I probably wouldn't have done what Brandon said do either. I probably would have calmly, they may have still followed me because, like Brandon said, 4 cameras on you at all times just because you
right.
AD, right? But I would have probably kept my stuff on and just walked to the locker room. But he made a spectacle of it, and that's the part of it that's like,
yeah, that was not called
that's
for.
the emotion. That's where the response versus the, you know what I mean? The reaction is. You were reactionary and not responding. You were allowing your so you are led. That's what it is essentially. Whether we don't know, because nobody, as far as I know, has done any evaluation of him from a mental health standpoint. But we know one thing, we can see this for ourselves for sure, that he is an emotional, he reacts out of emotion.
Yeah.
To everything. Even on the show, he was reacting out of emotion.
Yeah.
You just had to try to you were trying to make it you and everybody else against Brandon. You know what I mean? When you didn't like what Brandon was saying, you were kind of, and so I see that's just kind of where you were going. But you're a really smart guy. You got a lot going on. I love your response about Tom Brady. Like, that was great.
Yeah.
I just need you to just do some self-examination. So
I think so.
This mental health moment, I just wanted to say, I think what you just said, because that was a part I didn't even think about, is huge in that anybody who's listening to us, hear what Jamia just said. You can't do what AB does. And please don't allow that commentary to make you feel like you are empowered to do so. I agree with him in the respect that I gotta be real to myself, and I have to be earnest and honest about who I am, and that's fine. I'm not telling anybody to be a fraud. I'm not telling anybody to be fake. I'm saying, but you got to think about this, as Brandon said, as a response and not a reaction.
Right.
I would not suggest anybody, I don't care what somebody did to you at your job, just walk off. Unless they physically hurt you.
Right.
I don't see, no.
Yeah.
So I agree. And the other point to this is allowing yourself the opportunity to really introspect as a human being. He needs to, the problem is, he just been going, busy since he did this, right? And I feel like that's so I don't have to slow down and hear like literally deal with myself.
Yeah.
And so I encourage people to do so, introspect. I mean, I do it on a daily basis, but I'm just saying, like, literally take time, find a space, get quiet, hear for your, like, really evaluate what's going on with you. Be honest with yourself, because if you're not, you can't. So this is my saying to the people that I work with all the time. If you can recognize it and acknowledge it, you can fix it.
All right.
But you got to be able to recognize it, and then the big part of it is acknowledging it.
Yeah.
So I just hope that at some point he can get to that space, and he may be perfectly nothing going on, but I just don't know. But you just need to give yourself the opportunity, sir. Yeah. On a lighter notes, we're going to go on to our feel good final thought. And this one, okay, y'all know I'm horrible with last names. Can you say that? You know I'm horrible with names. This is a MMA fighter. He's a champion MMA fighter. He just fought this weekend, past weekend, in fact, and won. There was this huge stink. He won the UFC 270, I think it was. Oh. Huge stink because Dana White did not put the belt on him like he normally does, or something. Because before, so I'm going to tell y'all, this has nothing to do with his feel good story, but I'll just tell y'all that what happened was, because he's an MMA fighter, Dana White runs that whole shebang bang. And they pretty much tried to, right before he was supposed to go out for this fight on Saturday, his manager came back and told him they were being sued because they were, it felt, because some kind of way they felt like it was a breach of contract for him to do this.
Oh, wow.
Crazy mess. So anyway, needless to say though, he was picked. Francis' name is, we hadn't said his name yet. Because I don't know how to say this last name, y'all. Francis, I want to say it's Ngannou. Francis Ngannou.
Okay.
MMA champion. His journey to this, even being an MMA champion and much less winning this UFC fight, was amazing.
Wow.
From Cameroon, he moved to Morocco with a false identity. He was like in his 20s, a false identity of a 40-year-old construction worker. So apparently, I need to look into this because I did not know this, but apparently people of color are treated really poorly.
Color what?
Are treated really poorly.
Oh, okay.
In Morocco.
Okay.
And well, I know they're of color, so I don't know what the reason is. Maybe immigrants are treated, I don't know. But anyway, they were being treated really poorly. And so he tried to escape like 10 times from this place, getting on boats, they get caught, go back, go to jail. So he did this about 10 times. And then finally, they succeeded. It was him and I think 5 other people on a boat that got rescued by the Red Cross.
Oh, wow.
And they were outside of Moroccan waters, so they did not have to take them back to Morocco. They took them to Spain, where they had to be almost like in jail, a quarantine kind of jail thing for like 10 days, I think it was, 2 months. 2 months they were detained. But after that, he was set free and he got on this journey that brought him to America, that allowed him to be in this space right now.
Wow, that's awesome.
So kudos to you. Like, you had a fight before you had a fight.
Right. So that fight ain't nothing. The fight now.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. I remember now, because he wants to box. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it.
That's the problem. That's why they want to sue him. It's not about the UFC fight. It was the boxing.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, so I just feel like this is, our barometer for feel good final thought is always something that makes eyeballs sweat or you smile. And so this is one of those smile things for me, because when I read his story, I said, my God, like, yeah. And so I shared that story originally about him being sued, because I'm like, in his mind, it's like, whatever. Whatever. Yeah. I'm about to go out here and fight. And
this is nothing.
Like millions of dollars. So whatever. Like, I was on a boat 5 years ago trying to get whatever. So yeah, I just thought it was a great story.
Absolutely.
I thought it was a great story. So, all right. So now we're on to show picks. So what you watching?
I got one. I get 1 or 2.
You can do 2. I always cheat and do 2. You fine.
So I get my first one. So I don't really watch TV during the week. I just catch it on Hulu. Like one day I'll watch all my shows. So I don't watch live TV. But Abbott Elementary
Oh my
is
God.
so good. And I love the Black male teacher and just like the whole, it really shows the importance of teaching and the
Yes.
struggles that inner city teachers, all teachers have struggles, let's just be honest. But when you're passionate and dedicated to the kids, no matter what's happening,
Yes.
you're still going to fight for the kids. So it is such a feel-good show. You see the old school versus the new school. Like, it's just so cute.
Cheryl Lee Ralph is like the old school.
Yeah.
Tyler James
so
and
cute.
the other girl there, the new school. And then that principal. Listen.
She's so trifling.
That's trash. She is trash. You hear me? She is trash. Yeah. I love it though. No, I love it.
That's one of my shows I love to catch up on. I watch it on a weekly basis, but just not when it comes on live. And then I'm also watching the Pivot podcast. You know, I Am Athlete Divided or Divided and Conquered. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But I so appreciate the conversations that have come out of the Pivot so far. Like every one of them has been, and really I see them taking the approach of bridging the gap because they're having conversations across generations, which I think is a unique way to tell the story. From the guy from the Cowboys, Ryan Clark's son, Marvin Lewis, was amazing. I had never heard Marvin Lewis deliver. I mean, I heard him talk, but like, he was so intriguing. Like, I want to know more about him. Like, he knows the game. He has a heart for young men, developing them. And then this most recent one this week, I was literally laughing out loud. Like, it was so funny.
I haven't seen this week.
They had Charles Haley on there. He was a 5-time champ. I never had heard of him before, to be honest, but old school, just an old school guy. And like, they were just shooting the breeze, and it was so authentic. It was so entertaining. And also enlightening, you know, because he came from a different generation, and it's just amazing. So I'm loving the way that they're telling their stories and how they're bringing their guests on and steering the conversations. So shout out to them. Ryan Clark is amazing at like steering the conversation in the show. Because Channing, you gotta
reel him back in real fast. So
Brad will get in there.
Somewhere.
Brad gets in there, but I think they have amazing chemistry. I just hope they continue on the path that they're on. But I love how they're telling their stories.
Good. Yeah. No, I've talked about the Pivot on here before because I told you about. I was like, this show. Okay. Yeah. All right, y'all. Okay.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And they have great chemistry.
They silly. Well, Channing is silly. Fred is serious. So that's a great
the balance of like balance it off one another.
Yeah. So I love it.
But yeah.
So for me this week, I watched Sarah Jake's Woman Evolve TV, which is her podcast.
Okay.
She had one of my favorite people, Priscilla Schreier, on there.
Oh yes.
And their conversation was so deep.
Wow.
Lord have mercy. I said, well, first of all, I'm a huge SJR fan. Okay. Let's just start there. But I'm also like, Priscilla Schreier is one of the books, I've read one of her books that just kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And so they were just having real, I love it because they're both, in the spotlight as women in ministry, but they were real honest and open. Priscilla was sharing about her trials and tribulations and stuff she's gone through and how it made her feel. And Sarah was like, I'm glad you're saying it because this is how we, this is real talk. So I loved it. I said, I will definitely be tuning in all the time because I thought it was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. I got to check that out.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're at the end of another one. We've made it to the end of episode 146. So we again appreciate you all for tuning in. We appreciate you for always rocking with us. We can't thank you enough for how you support us, and just continue to do so. We just love you all. You don't understand how much we love y'all. And so if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at fieldthe2therealpodcast@gmail.com. You can get us up on Twitter at fieldthe2therealp1. You can get us IG at fieldthe2therealpodcast. And you can also find us on Facebook, where you always get notifications about when we upload it to our YouTube page. And please, please, please join us on our YouTube page. So both the Facebook and YouTube, what you see behind me, Field to the Real Podcast. And so like, subscribe, share, making sure that, this gets out. We want people to see what we bring to the table, and we feel like it's good, and we need y'all to continue to rock with us. We thank y'all for joining us today.
Yes, peace.
Now put the cameras on me, 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 put the cameras on me.